In this video, you'll meet Andrew Galucky, a musician from Nashville who makes a full-time living from sync licensing. And he's here to tell you more about sync and how you can make money from your music by getting it placed on TVs, films, ads, and all those cool places. So keep watching.
When it comes to artists and songwriters getting their music, their songs onto TV, film, ads, trailers, getting them synced, so to speak, there's one thing I see blocking their chances more than anything else, and that is writing lyrics that are too specific. I'm going to do a full deep dive into what exactly that means. Before I do that, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Andrew Galucky. I'm a singer-songwriter and the founder of Nashville for Hire. Really, all you need to know for the purposes of this video is that last year I made almost $50,000 from my sync revenues alone, meaning all that money, that $50,000, was made from getting my music attached to a visual medium. My music has been featured on networks like ABC, The CW, MTV, on shows like Grey's Anatomy, Rain, Teen Mom. It's been used for national ad campaigns for brands like Chase Bank, in Canada for brands like Rogers Wireless, and then on top of that I've had hundreds of micro syncs. So I'm not a master of all things sync, but I am fully in it, on the journey, having successes, and so my hopes is that this video can kind of be me handing back things as I'm getting them in real time that can hopefully be helpful to you. So to make sure that we're all on the same page, I just want to give a quick working definition of what it means to write for sync or to have your music licensed or any of that. So basically when I'm saying write music for sync, what I'm referring to is what's also called music licensing. In general, to have your song synced is to have it used on a TV show, a commercial, a film, a trailer, a video game, and basically it means you're taking your music and you're syncing it up to a visual medium. That's it. So you're getting your music synced. And so when you're doing that kind of writing, what you really have to remember is that you're trying to write songs that will prop up the story that is going on screen. So when you're writing a song for TV and film, your job is to prop up an already existing story, not to tell your own great narrative. So let's say you are writing a song and you're hoping to get used in some, rom-com, teen rom-com on Netflix. You're picturing a scene of this teenager who just had his heart broken and he's in this dark room and he's crying and there's like a lava lamp in the corner because it's a 90s ripoff or something, and the tears are just coming down his face and leaving streaks, and he's looking at a picture from that time they were at the fair, and there's all these details going on. If you're picturing that scene and then writing a song walking you through that scene, the odds are, even if you got really lucky and somebody created this lava lamp 90s ripoff movie and had this scene, the odds are your story would still get in the way of that story because it's not going to be a music video and they're not going to show the lava lamp when you sing lava lamp. So in best case scenario, with this really specific lyrics, really specific song, and they have a movie that happens to find your song and happens to use it and all these things, it's still going to be a problem in editing for them that your song is so specific. Beyond that, in more realistic world, a supervisor, music supervisor, the person who's in charge of pulling on songs to be used in all these visual mediums, that person's going to hear the specificity, the specifics of your lyrics and just write it off because they know that it's not going to work for the editors when they're trying to put together a scene. And again, that's because the lyrics you are writing that are super specific are pulling the viewers of this film or whatever they're watching out of whatever they're seeing on screen. You don't want to have your story going on and their story going on because it's going to be conflicting and it's going to pull you in and out of the two narratives. And so what you're trying to do with your music is prop up that story that's already existing. So the big question is, what do you write about then? And the short answer is you focus on the emotions of the situation and you really do a deep dive into all those feelings and expressing those in ways that are not so situational, so scenic, so specific. And while the song instrumentation and production will most likely have dynamics, and that's actually a great thing to have these instrumental and production dynamics throughout the song to give different moments, the lyrical journey is probably going to be pretty flat, and that's what you want. You don't want to have this big arc of like, here we started here and now we're here in this big lyrical story. And for me, this was a difficult thing to get used to because I took pride in writing songs that had this lyrical journey, that had this momentum momentum you built. You started here, and at the end of the song, you had revealed something new, and like you went on this journey with the listener. And when it comes to that type of writing, that is a great thing. When it comes to this type of writing for this specific purpose, if we're putting on the hat that says I'm going into writing for sync mode, it's just not something you want to be doing. A good way to think about this and visualize it is if you think of like a SoundCloud audio clip where you have that, that little visual that they give. If you were to pop in at any given moment within that visual and hear what's going on, the lyrics should give you this general idea of the feelings of the song, but it shouldn't be like, oh, what is he singing about a car? Why is there a car? Oh, what's the lava lamp doing? Why does he have a lava? Like, it shouldn't be those kind of specific things. You should have a general feeling relatively quickly that gives you an idea of the emotion of the song and where it's coming from without giving you anything too specific where you're confused or you need more information. And when I first had this explained to me by the mentors at the company that I write for, it was kind of a letdown. It kind of felt like I was being told to write kind of really blasé and vague music that I wasn't going to care about. But then I started to think about it not so much as like a vague writing, but as a poetic writing. Because my writing, when I just write for an EP and I'm not thinking about getting my songs synced, my writing in that situation is a lot more journal-y, kind of just stream of consciousness kind of space. I live in Nashville, so I'm around country writing all the time, and so sometimes that comes into my kind of folky writing as well, which is again very specific kind of writing. And so when I'm writing for sync, then I get to kind of put on this cool sync hat like I referenced before. So putting on this sync hat started to mean that I get to go into this kind of more poetic mode where I don't have to just spell everything out in explicit detail and give this like very concrete set of thoughts that this thought leads to this thought, and this thought leads to that. I'm not writing a thesis paper. I'm writing poetry, and that poetry has a way of being something you can stir up and mix around, and it still creates the same vibe, the same sensation, if that makes sense. And so it is a different style than my normal writing style, and I still do my normal writing style for other songs, but this gives me an excuse to dive into a whole new space, which I think is creatively really exciting. And I didn't really have a name for this kind of songwriting until I was watching an interview with Bon Iver. He talked about what he called impressionistic songwriting. Impressionism, if you don't know, is an art movement that started in the 1800s that had this kind of more emotional bent than the paintings that were going at the time. Creating a sense of realism and detail was kind of all the rage. And so Impressionism was this idea that you could create a picture where you look at it, you know what it is, but the fine details don't have to all be hashed out. And the more important thing is that you know what the image is and that you feel whatever the image is trying to convey. Impressionistic songwriting in that vein is basically the same thing, where you don't have to have this like nailed down detailed journey of all these thoughts and ideas. You more so have to have these little strokes, all these tiny little strokes, these lyrical strokes that all add up to this picture that you understand what it is. You know this is a song about being sad. You know that this is a happy song. You know this is a song about a new day and hope for the future. What you need is that impressionistic 1,000 little strokes of lyrical strokes that don't, all on their own, they don't have to make perfect sense, but together they create this emotion, this feeling that you look at and you hear and you understand right away. And so that added on, this name, this impressionistic way of looking at it, actually added even more meaning and kind of took this poetic piece that I was applying to it and this art piece, and it makes it exciting for me to sit down and write it instead of feeling like I'm sitting down, all right, I have to suppress all my great lyrics and just write vague stuff. And of course, there are exceptions to this rule when it comes to music that is synced. There's tons of songs that have been synced that are very specific, that fall outside of this box. But what I'm trying to explain, what I'm trying to do when I'm writing for sync is give my songs the best chance of getting used and take away things that would negate their usage or negate their usability. I've had songs that are specific that have been synced, but the ones that get synced over and over and get used more than once and that get used for the best things so far have all been the ones that follow this formula, so to speak. If you're worried about stepping this mode, you don't have to write only this. Like I said, I still write my more journalistic kind of songwriting, and I need both. I love doing both. They both satisfy me in different ways. They're both equally creative. They're just different ways of expressing that creativity. And honestly, I've gotten better at writing my old style through all the time I put into learning how to write for sync, because they inform each other. Even though they're not the exact same thing, you hone in on different parts of your craft through putting yourself in different creative boxes. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that is helpful to you. In this video, I really wanted to give the why, the reason why you write like this, and what that looks like, and how to mentally prep yourself to be able to write in this space without just checking out and being like, okay, so I gotta write crappy lyrics that are vague. I did create a part 2 video of this that dives into the nitty-gritty details of what this looks like using song examples. In fact, I used 2 of my songs. One song that was too specific in the sync realm. I think it's a great song, if I can say so myself, but it's not perfect for sync. Whereas I compare that to another song that was written more recently for sync that I think does a much better job of writing in this impressionistic, poetic manner, and that has done over $20,000, more than that now, of revenue just on that one song from sync. You can find that video at nashvilleforhire.com/part 2, and I hope you check it out. I hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts, your questions, and hopefully I'll see you over at part 2.